am a wife and a mother and an insurance agency owner, a friend, and a PTA advocate. I am so excited to talk about all of the things that I find most precious here within our community, within our lives, and within our faith, friendships, and relationships. Here on Heather's Most Precious. Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Heather's Most Precious. I am so excited to introduce y'all to my guest today, Alyssa Oliver Cohn.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey everyone. Doing so good this morning.
Good. Now, where are you at today?
Oh my. Today we are in Nashville, which is where we're based here. So we're working from home today, which is rare. But I believe if I can get my calendar correct, we are back in Chattanooga this weekend. And next weekend we are headed to South Alabama to the coast.
Okay. Now, Alyssa is a recording artist amongst a lot of other things, including wife and mother, all of that.
Yes.
What right now are y'all really kind of digging into in the music industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So over the last 7 years, we've owned this corporate entertainment group called Young Hearts. And basically that began as a reason for us to be able to get together on the weekends with our friends, if we're honest. We just really wanted to be able to get together and make music after school.
I love that. And I love that both you and Ashton are very, very musical. And so getting to hear outside of just we know each other from y'all being a part of a worship team, leading us in worship through our church week in and week out, and knowing the professional side too of that. I didn't even realize the depth that your career has taken you in, because I know you've done backup vocals for, I'm sure, more than Michael W. Smith. And then to radio jingles, which who hasn't been in Walmart, and you hear that. And I'm so excited to know that that's you. You're such a big deal.
Oh, no.
I love that.
Funny. Yeah.
Now, how did you first, has music always been in your blood since you were little? How did you first kind of get into this?
Yeah, I really have no excuse. My mom is a fantastic, super anointed worship leader. And she has been in music. I mean, when I was in the womb, she was on stage. So, as my son was. So, it is a special thing for our family. My dad played trumpet when he was growing up and went to school for trumpet, for like the jazz trumpet ensemble and all of that for college. And my mom also just like went straight from, high school to touring and leading worship with different like praise teams that toured back in the day. If you were in the like church, especially the evangelical circle, back in the day, you probably remember these like traveling worship teams. And it wasn't just like 3 people and tracks. It was like, a 4-piece or, excessive wind ensemble. They brought the whole timpani. I mean, I can only imagine what that looked like now. Back in the day, them rolling up in these big buses and being like, we're here, But so my parents actually met on one of those traveling worship teams. And then the rest is history. So music has always been in my blood. I was singing harmonies when I was like 5 and 6, I think. And, recording the Star Spangled Banner, I think 3 or 4 years old. My parents have some kind of recording. So it was never an excuse, I guess. Like, I don't really have an excuse. They always told me I could be whatever I wanted to be. And my dad, just pleaded with me that I would do something other than music. He was like, babe, life would be so sweet if you could just be an accountant, or, you could be an astronaut. How fun would that be? Or you could drive a plane. But I mean, music won. So yeah.
And I think it's either a part of you, right? And especially if I grew up in a musical family.
Yes.
When you have that around you, right? When you're listening and you're playing and you're doing the plays and the musicals as well, all of that just becomes innate, right?
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to, it becomes your calling.
Totally.
Was there a specified time for you that you were like, this is my calling, this is what I'm going to do and pursue?
Yeah. That is a great question. And I think it was kind of just, I knew it all along, if that makes sense. There were some moments that I was like, oh, this is really cool. I want to do this. But it was also a moment of like, I'm decent at this and like, I'm not good at sports, you know? So it was kind of one of those things that also it was just the easiest thing for me. Like it made sense to me. This was the thing I was good at. So this was the thing that I thought, you know, when I was young, that this was what I was made to do. But then getting to lead worship in like, you know, around those teen years and starting, I grew up in a really small church. Nothing against that. Sometimes there's such sweet and awesome community that comes out of those churches. The small, just intimate gatherings of people that just want to talk to the Lord. So my mom had vocal surgery when I was young. She actually had an issue with her vocal cords. There was something that was growing on her vocal cords. And so when I was young, around 9 or 10, my sister was like baby. You can only imagine. My sister was like maybe a year old. I was around 9 or 10, and my mom had to have vocal surgery and be silent for like months and months at a time. And it was wild. So at that point, I took over leading worship at our church. And she would like sign to me from the front row, like, chorus, do it again, you know, but I was in charge of like leading it. So at that point I was like, oh, I think I can do this, you know? And so that was kind of the time when I got to try it out for myself that I would say, okay, I think I knew that this is what I want to do at that point, I guess, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. And I think so often, you know, I've often talked about how God equips you. If he has called you to do something, he's going to equip you to do it. And so when you realize, goodness, and you are so much better than just good at this, just so you know, you are an amazing vocalist and musician. And it really is a joy to know you and to have been under your leadership. And, you know, he shines through you. And your gift is clearly God-given. And so I think that when someone realizes not only are you talented and do you have a skill level that would allow you, but sometimes that can drive you into the field, and it makes it so much easier, doesn't it? Yeah. If you are good and you feel like that is the calling, gosh, it's so much easier to walk in it.
Totally. But I totally agree with you. What he's called you to do, he will equip you to do. And there were definitely seasons when I was pulled into different portions, like even the jingle stuff, you know, I'd never really done that. And I got the audition, I tried it. And now it's been years since that first audition. And I do it consistently now, but man, I had no clue what I was doing at first. Right. And I really felt the Lord was like calling me to do it. You know, it was a new opportunity. So he totally equipped. And the same thing with worship leading. I think he continues to put all of us, you know, especially leaders. We have so many great leaders on our team there at Rock Point. And so each one of them, it's amazing to know each of their stories of the Lord, just like calling them to different parts of music or calling them to lead worship and then equipping them or calling them to lead worship in a different space, you know, because not everyone is going to just jump up and sing with you, you know. So just learning to honor and, I don't know, honor and lead different spaces like that is cool. And I think the Lord equips for sure.
Absolutely. Now, what motivates you to continue within the music industry?
Good question. Well, let's be really honest. Even though we just talked about the Lord, and that is amazing, and he does equip us. But there's a portion of it too, where it's just like, you got to pay your bills, right? And so this is the tool that I get to pay my bills with, which is nice. Which is really, I'm very fortunate in that. I'm very thankful in that I don't have to, neither my husband or I have to like go to a 9-to-5 that we don't feel passionately about. So that's nice. We get to pay our bills through this. But I guess what keeps me going too, the community. I mean, honestly, the community that we've found in this field has been really, really special. And I don't know how many people can say that, because the music industry, there's lots of pockets. Everyone's different. Depending on who you meet, you know, your experience could be awful. But so far, we have had an amazing experience with the people that we get to work with in music. And I think that keeps us going as well. I know what keeps us driving the Young Hearts train is definitely the people. There were definitely seasons a couple years ago, even like when all of 2020 hit, where we really questioned, are we supposed to keep doing this, or do we hang this flag up and say it was a great season, you know, it was great for what it was, and just leave it? Or do we continue to drive this thing and try to, you know, see what happens? And the deciding factor truly was the people that are impacted by Young Hearts, by that organization. And it's not just the folks that we get to help dance every weekend, because that's one thing. And I love that, getting people to experience joy on the dance floor. You know, it's just cool. It's cool to see. But the households that, you know, work within our organization are really what keep me moving, and what keep me pushing to, you know, want to contact that client or want to solidify that contract. Or, you know, our people within our organization are really what keep us going.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you always written music, or is that something that has just come with different seasons of opportunity?
Yes. I was thinking about this morning because we have so many amazing songwriters in our community. So many. I could riddle off 10 names right now off the top of my head that are great friends of ours that are just iconic songwriters. I have not been that way. I remember being young and trying to write a song, and so badly wanting to, because I knew I wanted to sing. And I figured if you're an artist, you have to write music as well, which is not always the case nowadays. But so I felt like I needed to, and I just never really did. I did not start songwriting until college. I actually got to take a songwriting class with Babby Mason, who is an iconic songwriter and a fantastic singer. And so we got to take this class with her, and she just showed us the basics of how to start when you don't know where to go, you know, how to just start the songwriting process, and that it's not intimidating. You just have to jump in. And once you start, you know, trying to be aware of ideas that could hit you, they just start flooding in. And that was kind of cool. And then you just know how to capture those ideas and put them all together and save them for a rainy day, you know, when you want to put them together. And so now I'm a part of a great organization called Writing Rounds. It is actually based in Chattanooga. I'm not sure how much of your circle knows about this, but it's an amazing community of songwriters, kind of trailblazed by the amazing Jessica Height. She started it back in 2020 as a way to just circle up songwriters who were feeling kind of estranged in 2020 and isolated. And so we started these Zoom sessions, and now the community is way over 700 people. And we have some amazing music that just came out. I actually have a song with them that just came out.
You do, and it is. I mean, that whole album is great, but that song is beautiful.
I love what they did. They took these pitch tapes, because they're demos. We did not fully produce those at all. They were just demos submitted to the organization so that if they want to pitch them to people, like larger artists, they could. So they're just demo tapes, but they put them together, all these love songs and breakup songs and all in between. And they said, this is what we want to put out for Valentine's Day as just like this is a showcase of what our community can do. And so they put out this album of demos, and it's so cool. It's called Heart Can't Take It. So if you want to go look it up on all of your streaming platforms, Heart Can't Take It is the album, and it's produced by Writing Rounds. So yeah, it's great. So as I've been able to be more a part of that community, I mean, that's inspiring. Whenever you get around people that are truly songwriters, man, it makes you want to write good stuff, not just, you know, here's my bubblegum pop song, but like, let me write a song that'll change a life, you know? So that, being a part of that organization for the last couple of years has definitely prompted a lot more songwriting out of me, but it has not always been that way.
Yeah. And how neat. And you talked about, Jessica, how you started this back in 2020 when nobody knew what was happening. We didn't know that we would still be feeling and seeing the result of that, right? And not only lives lost, but feeling completely excluded from the world. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, right? You're having to hide out. And I think there were so many people that weren't married and didn't have families. And so you were truly alone, right? Yeah. And so to have something like that, especially for songwriters, you are so much better when you can be a part of a collective, a part of something bigger than yourself.
Totally.
And that she allowed this organization to start through a time that she probably wasn't at her best, right?
No,
to start something to encourage this group, and especially when it was surrounded by the one theme of songwriting. I don't know why I couldn't get to the word that I wanted to say there, but you can see my wheels are turning. I was like, why can't I think of this? But
totally right.
To give y'all a space to grow together. And as you said, there are, I'm sure, even great songwriters who at some point have that writer's block where you're like, there's so much I want to say, but I can't figure it out.
Totally.
And how incredible to be surrounded by other people who are at different levels of this. But, you know, a good song is one conversation away.
Oh my gosh, yes. So the song that we have on that album was written in 2020 when we were still doing Zoom writes. People would just email her or text Jessica, and she would just set up these writes for people and say, get on Zoom at this time and, you know, you'll meet your group. And you didn't know who you were going to get in a room with. That was also the other cool part, is you just never knew who you were going to get to write with that day. And so we got in a room, and it was just a girls group. You know, one of us had never written. Some of us had written a bunch. You know, it was so diverse in our ability, really. But somebody just started telling a story. And so we were like, wow. And then someone else started talking about what was going on in her life. Okay. And so we decided to tell this story through this song, Never Fake It. And that's what came out, you know, but it's so true. It would never have happened if a conversation had not started. And so, yes, I totally agree.
Absolutely. And I think as you've grown, right, your skill set has grown because of being around these various artists, and who I'm sure all sing different songs and are part of different genres, right?
Oh, 1000%. Yeah. We write for all genres in that, you know, community. So even if it's not your forte, that's kind of part of flexing that muscle. And Jessica, I do love her heart, and she's such a good leader. If anyone, you know, if you don't know who this is, Jessica Hyde, go look her up. She's fantastic. But she will put people in groups that are not their strength. If she knows, like, yeah, you do really good in this area, but if you want to be a true songwriter, like if you want that to be your career, you maybe should like write outside of your genre one time, just see what it feels like. So she'll put, you know, different people in different groups to kind of shake it up a little bit. And she'll get some texts like, hey, I don't write country or, you know, whatever. And she's like, yeah, you are today. You know, you're writing it today, because, you know, you never know what you're capable of until you stretch that bounds a little bit. And typically you won't be brave enough to put yourself in a room like that. That stretches you. So yeah, I know she has helped so many people with that, just from kind of encouraging that bravery.
And I think you're right. That is such a sign of a good leader.
Yes.
Someone who wants to push you, and any leader is not pushing to intentionally be mean, right? Or be like, oh, I want you to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
No, it's because they know that there's potential there and they want you to grow. And as you just mentioned, you can't grow when you're comfortable. You have to be extended. And I'm not saying your whole body has to be outside of the circle, but at least a toe has to, you have to be leaning into a place that's not comfortable for you to grow. Because even if, say they put a worship leader in country, even if that's not your favorite, you are going to learn something that is going to help shape you into a better musician. And who knows, maybe there's something that you can give somebody in that industry that helps them lean into who they're supposed to be as well.
Oh,
right. And give them a voice.
Yes. Some of the most crucial people in rights that I've been in are actually not singers. People that don't call themselves a musician or a singer, but they just like to write music. They like to be the context person or the content person. So they just sit in the room and go, well, that doesn't seem to make sense to the average listener. And we go, oh my gosh, you're totally right. And the song completely shifts for the better, you know? So I agree completely.
That is awesome. That's where I would throw myself in. I love to play instrument, especially guitar, and I can sing harmony, not ever a solo voice. Love
I don't know.
Theaters and plays and all of that. But have always written poetry, and at one point was a part of a band, you know, when you're young and you think you're cool and you're not. Oh my gosh. All of us, right? And I think having those, but next time y'all get together, I want to be there. I want to be in the room. I want to hear all of the fun that comes from that.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be a really cool experience.
Yes. We have our retreat in March It's the weekend of March 16th, and it'll be here in Nashville. Writing Rounds will have a retreat. And we have this great big house in Franklin. We all get together. Some people stay in the house for the weekend. Some just grab hotels. But it's like a meeting of the minds. And so you're put in a couple writes a day. You produce a song and you sing it that night for everybody. Yes. It's awesome. Super intimidating, but our community is so supportive that you don't even have to be scared. But you like sing and perform the song that night. And so anybody is welcome to come to those showcases in the evening. I'll give you all the information later, but yes, we put them on lives as well. But I wish that you would come to that weekend because we would totally throw you in a room. And I know that you would make such a large impact on the songs that come out of that space.
That's awesome. Now, if somebody is wanting to be a part of Writing Round, say they are, whether they are just someone who likes to write the music and the lyrics or someone who is very musical and wants to be able to sing and showcase their skill, what are the steps that they would take to be a part of something like this?
Totally. We can put all the information somewhere, but you can always go to writingrounds.com or you can find us on all your social platforms. Writing, like you're writing a book, and then rounds, like you're going around something. ROUNDS, I think. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes.
So Writing Rounds, yes. And so writingrounds.com will have all the information about the retreats. We call those Writing Round Lives because they used to be all on Zoom, of course. So those are Writing Round Lives, Writing Rounds Live. And then if you want to be part of the community, you can just sign up with us and it's free to be a part of the community, which is amazing. In past, there's been subscription tiers and different things like that, but they opened it up to the whole community and the world. Actually, like just this month, they opened that up to everybody for free, just to give that resource away to everybody and be able to tap into the community. So it's awesome. You can jump on there if you want to. They write on Discord a lot, which is like a platform that you can jump on and be a part of there. Or you can just jump on the socials and start connecting with the Writing Rounds community. And that's always great. We have music coming out this year. Yeah, it's fantastic. I can't say enough good things about that community.
And it sounds like, especially if someone's looking to get into a community like that, or maybe to expand on their skill and on what they enjoy doing, this sounds like a great community to be a part of for someone that is wanting to kind of be embraced and learn.
Totally. We have career songwriters that are there that, are Nashville based. This is what they do for a living. We have people like that are in the community that jump in and write with anybody and everybody. And then we have people, I have some students that I also coach vocal lessons from time to time. So I have some students that are in high school that I've gotten plugged into the community. So we have, people that are just developing their songwriting skill, getting to sit in rooms with these giants of the industry. And so it's just really cool space. Yeah, just so thankful to be a part of it. It's really cool.
Absolutely. Now, I've obviously you do worship music. I would put more like pop R&B. It seems like you've also do. What is your favorite genre to sing?
Oh my. If I have to be honest, my soul really comes alive when I'm able to do worship. And so I would have to say that is truly my favorite because it's just, you're connecting with something that's bigger than yourself. And so for me, that's just the tops. But I do love, if I'm really honest, I love singing disco music, because our band does everything. We do everything from 50s to pop music on the radio. So we sing, we have to sing everything. I love doing disco music because I think it's just so fun. But I do love R&B. And I do like the strong girl pop that's starting to come out right now. I'm digging some of that. If I had to be honest, my favorite artists consist of obviously Whitney Houston, who doesn't love her. And then I really like Tori Kelly right now. She's one of my
love.
She's one of my favorites right now, if I had to be honest. I love listening to her. And then, there's people in our community that are also my favorite artists, like Amber Carrington Lewis, who, leads.
We can agree on that.
Who leads worship on Rock Point. And she's probably one of my favorite artists as well. She hasn't put out any music lately, but we're working on it.
Are you? How exciting.
I'm working on her to do that. So
yes. Well, you and she both need to truly two of my favorite vocalists. And I think the world needs to hear more of what y'all have to not only say, right? Because I know there's a lot in there, but your voices together are, it's gold. It really is. It's neat because I think too, through beautiful lyrics and through the storytelling of a song, right? You really get to see the personality of the artist through their artistry. And I think that's such a neat thing as a part of the audience or congregation to be able to see that and take your leads off of that. Because, I mean, I've said this before, as y'all lead worship, majority, I would say 99% of our worship team are professionals or have been professionals at some point.
I mean, that's their career job is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it could so easily turn into we're going for a concert, but it doesn't. We've been at other churches where it has felt like a concert, and it is not, they are not professional grade musicians. Right. And so the fact that and we're talking about Rock Point Community Church here in Chattanooga.
Yes. But
to be led to the throne every time and y'all are worshiping, which goodness, the atmosphere changes, right? You can feel the spirit in the place, which is amazing. And it never feels like y'all are one run or, a run away from pulling us out of that. It's never been about y'all. The focus has always been about the Lord. And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Because so easily, right? Yeah. With the incredible artistry that y'all have, with the vocals, with the even every person on an instrument,
right?
Just the musicality of all of it could easily transform into something it's not.
I totally agree. And I think we've all been in that, right? We've all been in places like that, even good, bad, or ugly, whatever you have walked into as far as a service is concerned. You've sat there and thought they're really like focused on themselves, whether it was good, bad, or ugly, right? Like they've just been really self-focused, which is so hard to fight when you're standing in front of people. Let's be honest. You want to analyze yourself because you're trying to put your best foot forward. But I think what's so special within that space is that we all come very honest about where we're at. And thankfully, everyone on that stage is brave enough to just say, this is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to talk to God from that space. And so if you'd like to come with me on that journey, you're welcome to like worship alongside me, but like I'm going to go there. And that's my focus this morning is like, I'm going to go talk to God and we're going to have a conversation. And if I'm not honest in that conversation, then I mean, that's sad because God already knows, So let me just go ahead and get real honest and just be myself before the Lord. And from there, hopefully you will come along with us and get to meet him for yourself. I think that's how we all kind of approach that space. And it ends up being beautiful. I think the Lord honors that, and he shows up in really cool ways. I got to sit in service last weekend. And I never get to do that. Just sit in service and be in the back and just, worship.
What a treat.
Seriously. And Haley and Amber were leading and, the whole team, Dran and Aaron Hayes, and like just fantastic musicians on stage. And it was so special. I literally just sat there and cried most of the time because it was such a sweet moment with the Lord that I got to experience because they came vulnerable and honest on that stage. So it was just special. But yeah, I could talk for days about that. Let's be honest.
It is. It is fantastic. So if y'all are listening and you're in Chattanooga and you're looking for a great church that has incredible worship and incredible leadership team, our pastor Dustin's phenomenal as well. We would love to save you a seat to come.
And if you aren't in the area, you can always jump on. We have an app, Rock Point CC Community Church. There's an app, and you can always just watch the full service, or you can just catch the message if you want to. But man, I'll be honest, I go back. I drive a lot for work now, obviously, because we perform all over the place, so we drive a lot, and so often I'll just throw on his messages as I'm driving. It's just great. He presents such great material to think about, but it also is so spirit filled, and so I always benefit from it. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. And you're right. And I like that his teaching is always a conversation It's never, I'm up here on this high seated throne. Right. So all you little peasants, this is for you. No, he's the first to say, this is, I'm struggling with this. You may be too. And if you are, here's what we learned. And I love it's the humble approach to that.
Totally.
And instead of a y'all are sinners and I'm not, which sometimes is perceived from other experience that at least I have had in a church setting.
Same.
And so it's nice to have that, and especially in today's day and age. And everything is very easy to follow along. And I think it's amazing, the Holy Spirit has that where he can use the same words to speak to your heart in the way that you need. It's going to resonate with me differently than it does the next person. But yet it was the same words that were spoken.
Totally. Yeah.
They are just able to be translated in a way that you need, which is incredible. So, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because you're right. You can listen to it anywhere and be a part of it, whether it's live or not. I know right now y'all have got a lot between the young hearts and all of kind of the other facets of music. We've already talked about kind of the motivation piece. Is there someone that inspires you day in and day out to continue?
That's a great question. Over the years, I've had different mentors. And so I feel like when you've been mentored by someone for an extended period of time, their words just kind of continue to resonate in your head. So even if they're not with you, they kind of stay with you, in your mind. And so there are definitely some people that over the years have said things and just live a life that makes me want to keep running mine, if that makes sense. So in college, I actually sang in an a cappella ensemble, and the leader of that group was his name is Danny Murray. And anyone in the Chattanooga, Cleveland area probably knows who that is. If you've at all known anyone that has gone to Lee or is within that circle, you probably know who he is. And he, let's be honest, he specializes in tough love, but he really does want the best for you. And so, I'm so thankful to have worked with him for almost 5 years in college. And a lot of his words still resonate in my mind when I'm going after something, or even when I'm trying to lead our team well. There are still some things that he has pointed to over the years, or pointed out specifically in me, whether I wanted to hear it or not, that still resonate with me. And that really helped me keep going. Also, I've worked with a great friend named Natalie Robertson. And we worked together for an extended period of time, just vocal coaching, and vocal coaching a lot. We would do 10-hour days, 2 days straight, and then in different cities. And so just such a blessing to be able to travel with her and just be so close to her and see her drive to wake up every morning and do things with excellence. Not everyone has that just innate in their self, which is so wild. But I understand it too. Life beats down everyone in different ways. And so, to be encouraged by those two people and to see them run their race so well, honestly encourages me to keep waking up and do well. And then of course you have to have a current support system, right? So Amber is my current support system, Amber Alyssa, who we've talked about, or there's someone in town that's one of my best friends, Katie Baisden, who's another artist who has music coming out this month, in March. So just other artists that are doing what we're doing, are not signed artists or anything like that, but that are doing music, are doing life well, and they try to keep waking up every day and be a better version of themselves and put out good music and be a viable part of the music community as well. Because you can't do anything truly by yourself in the industry. Let's be honest. And we kind of said that, you have to have a community, no matter what you do, let's be honest, you'll be better off with a community of people who celebrate you and cheer you on and help you when you're down, but also celebrate you when you're up. So you need all of that. And seeing others that are close to me run that race well, I think they also keep me moving.
I think you're right. Regardless of where you are in life, you've got to have your community. You've got to have a village. You've got to have people that are able to encourage you and challenge you. And so I love that you've brought up people in the past that have been a part of that. And then as it has changed, she's a part of it now. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Because it will, and it doesn't make the people that were a part and are not a part any less valuable.
Oh, no, because they're still there.
But I think it's neat that their words still resonate, and that just like life changes and the seasons change, right? So will your career, and so will the faces that you see within your inner circle.
Totally.
And I think that's important to be able to cherish, right? The then and the now, as well as where you're going. I want to kind of go back in time with you. I want to know who was what was the first concert you ever went to? Who did you see?
Oh, man. That's a great question. So my family kind of specialized in working all the time.
Yeah.
And so we never really our family didn't really vacation or just go to entertainment for entertainment's sake. So my dad owned an audiovisual company. So he owned a company that would go out and set up speakers and microphones and run the PA. So I got to go to a lot of concerts when I was young, but it was mainly because we were working. And so I would, even when I was little, they'd be like, okay, can you go run this microphone on stage to so-and-so? Or, and I'd be running up there, plugging in an XLR or helping, somebody get their batteries for their pack or something, So I got to see a lot of concerts when I was young, mainly around, the, not quite CCM in the way we know, but current pop Christian music back in the 90s. In early 2000s. So I got to be around that scene quite a bit. I remember seeing Salvador. I don't know if anyone remembers that band. Yeah. And seeing the Katinas and just seeing some really great, seeing Israel Houghton back in the day. And those were concerts for me that I was like, wow, they're really good at what they do. And they're also really cool people, but they're just really, they take what they do seriously and they do it well. So I remember, and of course their music kind of moves you, and that made me happy too as a younger child. So it was just fun music that felt good and that was fun, and that they still did really great job at what they did. Trying to think of anyone else. As I've gotten older, I'll be honest, my favorite show of all time was seeing Bruno Mars here in Nashville. It was iconic. And beyond that, I would say PJ Morton is an amazing artist. If you don't know who that is, go look him up. But I got to see him live in Atlanta, I believe, a couple years back. And he's an amazing live artist, as well as one of my favorite bands of all time, which is Johnny Swim.
Yeah.
And I've been to a couple of their shows. I think that their experience, their live music experience is just one of the best, and they make the room feel so small, which goes so far, because then you feel like you're just sitting there, really experiencing the music with them. You can't really get lost, you feel like it's you and them, experiencing this music together, and it's so special. So artists like that really inspire me too, I would say.
Yeah. It is, and you're right. They do such a beautiful job of creating this intimate space.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so many great artists that you just mentioned. And what I love about Chattanooga too, and Nashville, which is your home base, and Atlanta, we're so close to all of this, but I love that we do have such musical cities right here, where you do have a lot of great talent that comes in that you can be a part of. But what I love is that this is your job, right? Day in and day out, your career is music, but yet you still are inspired by music. Because so often, right, you if you're surrounded by what you're doing and it is a job, kind of the light dims a little bit, right?
You become pretty jaded with all of that, if I'm honest.
Has that ever happened? Have you been through a season where you have noticed kind of a disinterest and you've needed some space?
Totally. When I find myself considering music solely work and something I'm not doing to the best of my ability in my mind, right? I'm not good enough for this. I'm not working hard enough at this, or I'm not achieving what I wanted to with this. Music for me, when I've felt that way about it, has just I've become very disinterested in it, of course, because it's the thing that makes you feel inadequate, and it's not even that you are, but it's just that you're wanting to be better all the time at something. You know, you're working to make it better, to do something different with it. And it can just feel a little bit defeating. I think when I live there too long and I don't get to experience music as a fun thing, then I can get pretty jaded. I think that comes seasonally. I'd say probably every couple of years, you know, you just gonna get, okay, do I still like this? Do I still enjoy this? And typically it's because I haven't done it for myself. I've just, you know, been working and using it as a tool to work, but not truly taking the time to experience why it is beautiful, you know? So that is challenging, I'll be honest.
How do you get yourself out of spaces like that?
Sometimes not successfully. I think sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down at the piano for me. And I don't even play very well, but just like sitting with 4 chords and like feeling those harmonics and feeling that resonance and like singing along with it. And sometimes that's just enjoyable. Like getting back to the simplicity of what music is and why it's so beautiful and what about it makes your heart kind of smile. Or I'll go back and listen to the artist that I first fell in love listening to. Ella Fitzgerald is that for me. She's an old jazz singer and she's just fantastic. So I'll try to go back and listen to her or listen to something that I haven't listened to in a while. Whether it's jazz, 'cause I love jazz music. So I'll go listen, kind of dig deep into some of that to kind of refresh myself. Or sometimes it's just a shift and I will like turn on the radio and turn on a channel that I have not listened to, you know, maybe ever. But my husband and I also, we joke that because we do music, we don't really listen to music in the car unless it's classical, unless it's just straight classical music. So you will find us very often taking 6 and 7 hour drives and just listen to classical music the whole time because it's just something that we don't do in music. Like we will never do classical music. So it's just nice to check out to it. And just, my dad calls it sound bathing. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, sound bathing versus actually listening with intention. So I don't know. That's
I love that.
I do.
Yeah, I love music. Has to be on all the time.
Okay.
And love to start my days with like classical or opera or something just that makes your brain tingle. Feel those connections and you kind of get in your space. My team at the office does not like music like that. So I have to kind of switch gears. And then it's kind of a little bit of everything, whatever we're feeling that day. But I want to go back. I know you said PJ Morton. So his song, Don't Let Go.
Yes.
Oh, it is such a beauty. So if y'all are listening and y'all have not, go look him up. PJ Morton, his song, Don't Let Go. It's such an encouragement and just a beautiful in the way that he layers his voice and the echo and the, you know what I'm talking about, that. Oh, it's especially in that song specifically, it's incredible. Yeah. It really is. Yeah, I struggle to find words because it's that amazing.
You're like a songwriter too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you kind of think about where you have come from to where you are now, what is something that you are the most proud of in your musical career?
That's I probably say this every time. That's a really good question. As I'm thinking, there are some like resume worthy moments, right? In 2013, our school got asked to sing for the presidential inauguration. And so we got to sing behind, I think it was Obama's second inauguration, and like stand right behind like Kelly Clarkson and Beyonce and, you know, and so that was pretty special. And I was chosen to be a soloist for that one. There's like a funny story that goes along with that. I got food poisoning that morning. It was like a whole thing, literally like throwing up below the bleachers as we're supposed to sing, you know, it was fun. But regardless, that was still like a really special moment, even that we were able to be there and like I got to sing for sound check. And so like that was a really special thing for me. Getting to do the Christmas tours with Michael W. Smith and with Amy Grant, like that was a really special thing for me. And just a really amazing experience to be able to like meet those people, in a more casual way and really get to know them. And beyond that, the whole band and all of the BGBs, like getting to know them personally. And that was really special to me. So those are moments that continue to be like some of my favorite things. So I'd say those are iconic for me in my mind of like, that feels like a gift from the Lord, when it comes to me doing my career. Sometimes the Lord just gives you little winks throughout your journey. So those are straight from the Lord, in my opinion. But other than that, it's been some of the most special moments for me in music have been on stage at Rock Point, if I'm honest, because it was just moments that, whether I was going through something and something shifted in my heart that actually changed the trajectory of my life, or just feeling like we created something really special and beautiful on that stage with the musicians that were there, all kind of united under the same thought that we were there to bring encouragement, or we were there to offer hope to people. And the Lord showed up in a special way and things changed in the room, so feeling like that actually impacted and changed people's lives, and hearing stories of that, like, man, I was in that service and something shifted in me and now my life is different. I think those moments stand as way bigger cornerstones for me as to like why I do this and continue to do this than probably anything else. Yes, gotten to stand on a lot of, medium, small, and large stages throughout the years. And that's been really special. Gotten to perform for like pageants and things like that, and be the entertainment for that. But truly, like, being able to stand on a stage and offer a solution to, just offering a solution to a better life or to hope, and people actually having ears to hear that, I think is just such a more special and sacred space than just standing on stage and, inviting people to forget their cares, and I don't know the best way to say that, but we get to stand on stage every weekend and offer people an escape. For a couple hours, we're going to play music and allow you the opportunity to dance and just, however you want to experience, live it up for a couple hours and just get away, and we provide that for people weekly. But to be able to stand on stage at Rock Point and offer people like a long-term solution is different. And that hits a little bit different, and it carries a different responsibility for me and a different honor for me to be able to do that, I think, than anything else. So I think that that's probably my favorite stage to stand on.
I love that.
I love that answered the question.
A little walk down memory lane. No, I love that. I think that's huge. And that shows a lot about your heart, right? As a performer and as an artist. Would you describe your creative process with us?
Creative process towards creating music. I am such an extrovert. I have tried to get away from it. My husband is very much an introvert. So he is. He's very much like, I need to get away, recharge, to be around people so I can be, my best around people. I'm like, man, throw me in a room with people and I will come to life like a plant. Like, I just need to be around people, need to be watered by other people. So I would say my creative process is very inclusive of others. Some people like go away, write a song, have all the ideas by themselves, make it all by themselves. I am not that way. I want to be in a room with a producer, in a room with musicians, and be like, what do you hear? What do you hear? I love that portion of life, just getting to share the creative process. So I'm much more leaning of that way when I create. There are many, even the songs, I guess, that I have out now, a lot of them, I did write the lyric by myself. And that I love to sing around the house. Like you said, you like music on constantly. That was also the case in my home growing up. And so we always had music on, or we were always singing something, whether it was my mom singing and I was harmonizing, or I was singing, running around the house. I mean, making up songs. This is not good stuff, right? This is just like, I'm brushing my teeth, like something silly. But like, we just were always singing, drives my husband crazy. So I feel like I sing around the house constantly. And if there's a song that's truly like laying heavy on me that I feel like I'm supposed to develop or write, typically it just gets sung over and over and over and over. There's a song I have out right now. It's called Rest in You. And I I believe we put it out in 2020, but it was my like sanctuary song for a long time, aka as I'm walking around the house worrying about stuff. I would just sing this song over and over to myself to really like be a marker in the sand of like, no, you will not worry. Like literally fighting myself not to worry. Like, yo, you will not worry. You will sing this song, and that will be like, you know, you're changing your mind, which sometimes we need to do, let's be honest. So I was changing my mind through that song. And then we ended up putting it out as the Lord was like, okay, it's time for you to share this. And I really did not want to, but got in the studio. My husband produced that one. And then we sent it around to a few different people. I had to have other people involved in it. It just makes it sweeter for me. So I had friends in town. Actually, I had like Jennifer Holm, who's another amazing artist in Nashville. She's fantastic. She sang BGVs on that. LeBron Arnwine, who's an amazing musician, but nobody really knows he sings, but he does. He sang on that one, sang some BGVs. And then Jonathan Etienne, who is the main worship pastor for Free Chapel down in Atlanta, he actually threw some BGVs on that song for me too. And that's, for me, again, what made it so special is just that inclusion of other hearts that were getting behind the message of the song, not just like, you know, could put their voice on it. So that's something for me. Is that the question?
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. I am like you. I need all the people for the energy.
I do. If it's just me, I get bored with me. So
right. No, I love that. And I know for every artist, right, they're going to have a different creative process, and even probably seasonally, it could look different,
totally.
Right? Totally. And I'm sure it looks different for you, whether, you know, during different phases, your jingle creative process may look different than yours creative process, or your actual, you know, your personal songwriting. Do you think that social media has changed the music industry at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think our attention span has shortened. I mean, there's some scientific like reports of that. Scientific, that sounds so casual. But there are a lot of reports just saying that our attention span as a culture and as a community, I guess, has shortened immensely. And I think that also has greatly impacted the way that songwriters write, producers produce. There are much fewer songs that are longer than 3.5 minutes now, because that's kind of the industry standards. Like 3 to 3 minutes is really what we think the consumer wants. So that has changed a lot of what gets produced, because if you're producing a song to be able, not even in a distasteful way, if you're trying to put out music that you want to be impactful and you want to be heard by more than just your family, you know, you aim it towards the industry standard, because that's your best shot at getting more listens. And whether you want the listens because you're vain, or you want the listens because you really are trying to like share your music with the world, regardless, you're going to write in that direction. And so a lot more music that has come out more recently is that 3 to 3.5 minute mark. That's just one, that's just one example of how that's changed. But even so, there's so many examples. Let me try to wrap my head around a few, because it is important to note that music that is coming out now is so much more being formatted towards what would be great for a 10-second, 15-second, you know, what is going to make people want to add that song to their story or to their reels, or, you know, so they're writing with that in mind. And a lot of songs are losing the bridge of their song, which is kind of the C section. You have your verse, which is kind of the A, the chorus, which is kind of the B. And then typically there's the C section that kind of takes you on a journey, kind of a left turn per se, typically in songwriting. And a lot of songs are going without that bridge section now, because they think that the consumer is going to get bored essentially and doesn't need that addition to the song, which is sad, because a lot of iconic songs that are timeless, right, that have stood the test of time, have these sections because it's a full experience, you know? And so by saying we don't want that section of the song, you're kind of saying the consumer doesn't want a full experience anymore. It kind of wants the same thing as a drive-through. It kind of just wants the meat, but, you know, they want the burger and the fries, but they don't really care about the dessert, or they don't really care about the appetizer. And so you're just like losing a little bit more of that full experience of the song. If that, I'm kind of going left on this, but that's how I would maybe explain it. So I think social media in general is definitely changing the art of songwriting and is changing what gets put out, because I think the artist, and especially the labels that put out the artists that put out the music, are writing for pop culture, and pop culture is saying, I want something that is going to go on my feed, or I want something that I can consume in 10 seconds. And that's all really that I'm going to sing of that song. You know, I'm not really going to listen to the whole story, but I do want this catchy 15 seconds and I'll take that, you know? So I think that is changing it. And there are a lot of amazing artists that are still going for the art of songwriting, that are still going for what they feel convicted to put out there. So that's not everybody, but I do think that it is definitely shifted and affected the artist and the creative and the song.
Yeah. If you were a song,
oh my God,
what song would you be?
Probably a melodrama.
Yeah.
No, I would probably be, I would for days try to get away from this, but I'm probably a pop ballad, if I'm honest. I'm probably a pop ballad, or I'm a complex jazz song.
With a bridge.
With a bridge. With a C-section.
I'm telling you, it's like, that's like the heart, right? And it ties everything together. And so it makes me sad to hear that people don't want that anymore.
It's wild.
Ooh, it does. Songs are so much more than a glimpse, right? We need the whole Broadway production.
Right. And your artist, like another example of this, not to take more time on this, but another example of this is that it's very evident. You can see a lot of artists are just putting out singles now instead of albums. And that's another version of just kind of snapshotting the artist. They're trying to put all their resources, all their materials around putting out just a single, because they know that that's typically all that the consumer is going to consume at one sitting. You know, they're not going to like have the full experience anymore. It's way less likely that people are going to listen to the whole album in one sitting anymore. Typically they just give me a dose of it. Give me a single, give me one song, then I'll move on. So that's happening too. And I think that's sad, but like Kelly Clarkson just put out a whole album. I hear it's just fantastic.
It is. We're going to get people back to the whole albums. We're not on this, Gen Z stuff where we're taking a glimpse. I do want to know, kind of as we kind of gear up to close, what advice would you give to someone who has just started a career in the music industry?
I would tell them that everybody is going to have advice for you, and you don't have to take it all. I think have wisdom and be kind has been my mantra for especially people that are entering a new season or a new scene. Have wisdom and be kind. Obviously, gain knowledge at all costs. That's something. But wisdom is about knowing when to use that knowledge. So have wisdom. Know when to exhibit what you know. And also just be kind. If you are kind to everybody, that is going to go a super long way. So have wisdom, be kind.
That's good. That's good. It would not be an episode of Heather's Most Precious if I didn't ask, what do you find most precious?
That is so changed over the years, right? I'm sure with everybody in different seasons. But what I find most precious right now is my son is learning to walk in the grass, and it is like just the sweetest thing. So he's probably my most precious thing right now. And so I would say memories with him has definitely taken over that spot of most precious in my life right now.
Love that. And he is darling.
He's sweet.
Yeah,
obviously my husband is amazing as well. And he, falls into that most precious category of, family. But little man kind of lights up our life right now.
Of course. And he will for a long while.
I know it. It's got to, I'm sure.
Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure to know you and to see your heart. And I love that you've been able to share that with our listeners today and offer some perspective in the music industry, as we talked about kind of the social media and the changes and not. So I think there have been good changes, but some of them have not been great, right? Some of them are a little bit negative. and offering some help with people who want to join in a wonderful group with these writing rounds. And also if they started a career in music or if they're just interested. So I'm grateful that you're able to share your knowledge with us and your experience. And y'all, Alyssa Oliver Cone, which most of your material is going to be put out as Alyssa Oliver, available on any platform that you like to stream music from. Also, share with us your social media handles if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's at thealyssaoliver.co.
Perfect. And then y'all are welcome to go writingrounds.com.
Totally.
Also one of them.
Always check out youngheartsmusic.com.
Yes.
That's our group. You can get to know us there, see what we're about, and you can always find us on socials, from our website as well.
That is perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
And as always, y'all, I hope that you will choose to be kind, choose to be grateful, and choose to encourage. And we'll see you back next week for another episode of Heather's Most Precious. Bye, y'all.
Heather's Most Precious is brought to you with love by the Hendrickson Agency, an insurance agency serving all of Georgia and Tennessee. The Hendrickson Agency, properly protecting your most precious possessions. Support for Heather's Most Precious is provided by Study.com, which offers SAT and ACT study materials and even has resources for AP and college credit courses. Listeners of Heather's Most Precious get 30% off their first 3 months of any subscription level with offer code PRECIOUS. Just go to Study.com and use offer code PRECIOUS at checkout. Heather's Most Precious is produced by Chattanooga Podcast Studios and is part of the Podnooga Network. Find out more at ChattanoogaPodcastStudios.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back soon with another episode of Heather's Most Precious.